Welcome to Double D-Fense. I'm Liz.
And I'm Christine.
We're bringing you an all-female perspective on the NHL,
plus the PWHL, college hockey, and everything in between. Thank you for joining us.
Well, hi, Christine.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Are you awake?
I am. And welcome to a very special episode of Double D-Fense. This is actually a post gold medal Olympic episode of Double D-Fense, and we are very excited to be joined today by Jane and Sarah from the Instagram Big Hockey with Jane. It is hockey takes from a 71-year-old woman who claims that she's over the Leafs. So welcome, Jane and Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
So let's jump into it. Tell us about Big Hockey with Jane. How did you start this Instagram? Give us the backstory.
I've always watched hockey. We grew up with it. My dad was a Leafs fan, and it was a big deal because you got to stay up late on Saturday nights and watch CBC, watch the Leafs on CBC. So I was born into, I think that like the whole Leaf fandom thing is in my DNA. So I always was a hockey fan. My husband played hockey. Sarah's husband is still playing hockey. They were both goalies. So it was just always on. We were always watching it. The way the site came to be, my husband a couple of years ago was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and the Bruce Willis thing. And so I was the 24-hour caregiver. And Sarah and Aaron gave me a Sportsnet Plus package where you can get every single hockey game. And that became my everything. So I was in the home all the time, because it's 24-hour care. And so I just watched hockey, and then I was getting more and more vocal. Sarah said, "You should really do something." And it was like, no, I'm not going to do that. My husband is now in long-term care, and I had the time. I had the physical and mental capacity, I guess, to do this. So Sarah set it up, and I record, send them to her, and she posts them. So that's where this all started.
It was something that I had been bugging her about for years because, I knew she had great takes about hockey. Also, like my husband, Aaron, it's like, I think one of his favorite things in life to wind her up. And you can just see him get this little smirk, and then he's like, "Hey, so did your mom see this?" And then it's just like little question, and then she gets going and going and going, and he gets the smirk. I think my original vision for Big Hockey was that it was going to be like a lot angrier because she does also have that side to her.
Oh, does she?
Extremely vocal, which is not safe either. This is entirely her as well.
Okay.
But yeah, there is. I think her takes that we get to see online are after she's processed what has happened in the game and thought about it a bit and come to.
That's a good take. That's a good take. Can you imagine?
Yeah, but it is. I'm so glad that people are finally like catching on and seeing it because this is what I've enjoyed and seen in Mom forever. So
that's great. That's kind of how, I think we were talking about it, but to kind of remind people, that's kind of how Liz and I started doing this too. Because I was kind of telling you, we had met through social media. And we got together, we became friends, and we would watch a game and sit and talk about it for hours. And then, her friends and the people around us were like, "You guys should just say all this, but do it on a podcast."
Wow. So that was never, ever your intention. It was just
vibing.
No, right? I don't think it was. We were just I was enjoying the fact that there were Ranger fans in LA. And I was like,
yeah, that was a big part of it. We were both, as Christine calls us, displaced Ranger fans in Southern California. We both really enjoyed, and I don't want to speak for Christine, but I really enjoyed talking about the game with other women too, because you get like a very different take from women. And I think women's takes need to be heard more because I think we have a very unique insight on the sport. I think we tend to see things that I don't think that men see. And I love swapping stories with Christine. So she and I would text message through a game. We would joke about this. We would talk about this person very much in the way like you want to gossip with girlfriends. And then we started to realize there were other people who wanted to have that same conversation. So that's part of what started this. And it sounds like it's not too dissimilar from the conversations that you guys were having. We were complaining about the Rangers. You guys were complaining about the Leafs. Understandable. I think sometimes challenging seasons make for very, very good content.
And it builds character, right?
That's
You know,
it.
there's a
Lots of character.
Nice way to say it.
get up here. And I saw a gentleman in it a couple of weeks ago, and it is the Toronto Maple Leaf crest, and it says "Just once before I die." And,
Hey, the Ranger fans feel that way too, because
okay.
a lot of them aren't, this new crowd that's rising up. It's funny because they're young, and I'm older as well, so it's like even the Olympics right now, where I actually watched this 1980 game, and now these young, especially all the hockey players since they're in their 20s, they're like, oh, I love this because I watched the movie, and like their inspirations from the movie, and I'm like, wait, I was watching it at 7 a.m.
So, but really, it's one of those like, where were you when this happened? It's a take my. Well, no, it's okay. My watch is making a noise here, but it's probably just my sister, but I'll ignore her. But so what year was the last year the Rangers?
1994.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's disturbing that there are so many individuals playing the sport now professionally that weren't even born when that happened. Now,
Don't rub it in, Jane.
it's just like, what are you talking? We're talking generations here.
I know.
But always,
We
as
know.
much as I joke about it and say, I'm over the Leafs, I'm not. I absolutely love the team. I can't imagine ever not being a Leafs fan.
Yeah, and that's a challenging team too, because look, you watch them come so close.
Yes.
And then, and that right there, you have to have all the heart, and it's frustrating over and over again to kind of say, I get that.
I mean, last year we were so close, but you know what? It went to Game 7, and ultimately, when you lose to the team that wins the cup, is it right to say that you find some solace in that?
100%, absolutely.
It's I don't want to be making excuses, stuff like that. But
I can believe, like, if they didn't exist, it would have been us.
Well, that's true. And it's funny because we sometimes celebrate making it past the first round, and it was at 2023. I happened to be up at Sarah's and her husband's, and it was the night that the Leafs won and advanced. They went past the first round, and they live very close to Yonge Street, which is the major street in Toronto. And so we had to, of course, make our way over, and it was our parade. It was our celebration. Cars,
The joy of a second.
Some fireworks.
There were fireworks in the middle of Yonge Street, and we definitely had a celebration.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been like forever. We had a little one in 2023.
I would take that.
Yeah, I mean, we know it well. We got to watch the Rangers go from, top of the top, winning the President's Trophy, to I think we're in last place in the East right now.
We're number one.
There. That was but you look at all of it. You look at the Leafs, you look at Florida, you look at the Rangers. It's like the Atlantic Division is sort of turned upside down.
Yeah,
Now it is.
Absolutely. But as Sarah was saying, it builds character, and I can tell you for sure we have a direct correlation between number of listeners and how badly the Rangers are doing. So more people listen when the team does badly. So I consider that somewhat of a silver lining, but we do try to motivate each other. And like Christine said, Double D-Fense is expanding out what we're talking about. We're trying to cover the league in general a little bit more. Obviously, we were very excited about the Olympics, and we can definitely get into that. Follow the PWHL, which has been awesome to watch and a great addition to sort of the hockey roster world that we get to see. And we've gotten to see it from day one, which has been so great. So I feel like you're coming into Big Hockey with Jane at a great time, especially for female fans. So let me ask you, when you're doing your takes, what perspective are you coming at it? Is this looking at the game? Is it analyzing specific plays or people, or commenting more in general?
It would be more a general. There will be, and it's nothing I go looking for. It's like I'll be watching a game and then suddenly something will stand out. And so I'll focus on that. And sometimes it's not until after the game, and then I'll be looking, because I like to look at replays, and I love to look up statistics at times. And so sometimes it'll be that, and it's like, oh, okay, that I can apply that to that game. So it's there are days where I just have nothing. There's just like, I can't think of anything. And then I think it's like, just to put something out seems just like some kind of gratuitous post. But I want it to be thoughtful, and maybe thought-provoking. It's like somebody out there doesn't know this statistic. I think it's really exciting, and I'm going to guess somebody else may. So it's more that, or it'll be a specific play. And I know last year I did bring up the Matt Rempe thing, and it wasn't like, it wasn't trashing him. It was genuinely, I was asking, what is it that he brings to the game? And I'm not trying to like, let's get the Matt Rempe discussion going here, but I'm saying things that would stand out to me and why that post might be that subject on that day.
And do you get controversial opinions back?
When I post things, I expect there to be comments. And this is why I like to keep mine as neutral as I can, because I don't want people coming at me and being, I don't want the nasty. I love the sport, and I want to enjoy the sport. I want other people to enjoy the sport. We're going to enjoy it from different perspectives. So yeah, you get to have your opinion. What I won't take are the nasty things. I don't want to hear, "Ooh, Leafs suck," because I've heard that for almost 60 years. Yeah. And I need you to be a little more original in that. So I don't want anybody picking on anybody else. And I did go through a period of time where I wasn't posting because there was that. And that was, I don't need that with all of the other stuff I'm dealing with in life. I didn't need that. So I did step away. And then when I did come back, it's almost like I wanted to keep it even lighter, because I don't, you win or you lose. I want you to enjoy the sport. And I want all of us to get along.
Can we all just get along? It's fun. Like there is a line between healthy debating. Liz and I will do that too. We don't agree on everything, which I love. I don't think we should all agree on everything, but it's like, it's just explain your reasons. And when you understand like the reason why, like I think this way, because I see things differently than
right.
Liz sees them. And I have, we don't have the same favorite players, and stuff. So it's a real fun dynamic for that. And yeah, I agree. We kind of quash anybody that's telling us we're wrong, because you're not wrong in anything you're saying. It's a sport, and we're couch critics. We're not there on the ice doing this. And everybody who sits there and acts like they know stuff, from their couch. It's like, and take it with a grain of salt. I know sometimes, especially women, we kind of see it and we get emotionally invested a little bit, and we got to learn to brush it off better, but also to take the compliments, because every once in a while there's someone that's going to come in there because it's going to make them feel a little bit better. Maybe their team's worse. That's fine. I get it. And just to take the moment. But I do like your videos are great, because it really does bring that. The knowledge out, to people. You were just a few weeks talking about the women in playing, and how, because I think I saw the thing where you're like, I'm not going to watch the Olympics because it makes me too anxious.
And I didn't. That's the only game I watched, was that Switzerland-Sweden game.
Yeah. That was the most anxious game I've ever seen.
I do not watch international competitions.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and it was, look, this week's been high intensity from Wednesday on. We talked about on our show yesterday that we had recorded, and and so I get it, so you get to tend to enjoy the other things. But I do have a question on that topic. I was thinking about this earlier when I was walking. I think this is for all of us, is at what point of a hockey game are you most anxious? There's always a point. Everyone's got a point.
There is, but each game is going to be different, right? I have often said, I've often said, I would rather my team get blown out. I find that an easier loss to take than a close one. And if we're getting towards the end of a game and, you know, there's a 1-goal differential, that's the most stressful game for me.
Yeah, but
if
at what point?
Nothing, I'm like, okay, I'm watching hockey.
Is it like the 5-minute mark? That's usually it for me.
No, you know what? I might start thinking about, but when we get down to that, you know, 2.5, 2, and you watch it tick away.
And you stand up, and you're walking around, pacing.
A lot of pacing. I'm very much I should check my step count per day when there are tight games on.
Christine does it with her heart rate. She'll be looking at her heart rate while she's watching the game and just watch it go up.
I'm really loud. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings with my son for a game, and the Rangers scored, and I screamed so loud, and he looked at me and he goes, "Mom, did you just forget your indoor voice?" And I'm like,
no, yes, I respect that. She would be upset with me for yelling. I respect that.
I scream so loud. So I'm very loud. Liz is pretty quiet, you know. Liz is the one. I'm gonna go clean and see if they score.
Yeah, inevitably, if we're watching a game together and I go to get a drink, that's when that's always. I've been told to leave the room.
20 trips to get that, you know, that drink. It's like that.
I have forever PTSD with overtime and shootouts because my son played a tournament where it went 15 rounds. So I will forever have PTSD with that. I hate shootouts. I hate watching them.
I do too.
Can't. So
I do too. I think it's a shame that any game is ever decided that way. It's just so, and I get in the interest of time. But when we were growing up, when we were watching the games, you went to, games could end in ties. And if we were in the playoffs, you played, you know, 8 extra periods. That's exciting hockey.
Yeah. A lot of people I saw today were complaining about this 3-on-3, you know, effort on, you know, and it's an international rule. It's a rule, but it's an international rule too that they've adopted. And so, what do you think about like the 3-on-3? I mean, there's reasons for it, which I understood, you know, and I appreciate and stuff. But what do you?
Interesting you should say that. I don't like it in the international competition. I would love just to keep going full overtime because these are major decisions made here. But I have to tell you, during an NHL game, I kind of like it, except when they do that skating around in and out of their zone, except they're killing time. But I love the open space and I love what can happen. My great nephew he's 10 and he plays hockey. And in the summer, it's a 3-on-3 camp. And it's just a 3-on-3 shinny. There's no whistles, there's nothing. And that's some of the most enjoyable hockey I've watched him play. And so as I say, in the NHL, I would absolutely hate it if we got into the playoffs. I don't like that. I want the full overtime. I shouldn't say when it's meaningful because each game is. I think it becomes more meaningful, doesn't it?
It's when a trophy or you know the ultimate thing is decided. Yeah, I agree with that one. You know, just the one thing. Yeah.
Do you like it?
I like it because it's faster and it shortens it. I think the only reason that they have it is for the interest of time.
Yeah, it is.
Look, we were just talking about like there was a youth girls team 12 and under that just their game went 3 days in overtime. So fantastic. It was fantastic. They kept playing and then they had to go to bed and then they came back to the playing again.
Awesome. Now that movie, I mean, that's
imagine. Like we can't have the closing ceremonies right now. We got a game going on. This game, I think this morning, this men's Olympic final, if it was 5-on-5, would have gone on.
It would have gone. Yeah, it would have gone 3 hours. They'd be pushing back the closing ceremonies.
And I get it. I mean, I don't know what the best answer is in that case. Like you're right. You're not going to have the closing ceremonies 3 days down the road. But I mean, I guess those are the rules. Everybody goes in knowing those are the rules. So we all accept that. It's just that you do wonder about outcomes, and
it may change because they, previously, 2 Olympics ago, it was a shootout, and there was a gold medal decided on a shootout with the women, right? So, so they changed that format because they said, look, a shootout isn't a team effort, right there, it's one-on-one. So they didn't want that again, and then they brought it back, and they had a choice, right? 5-on-5, 4-on-4, 3-on-3, and so I think and also. I think part of the reason too was, that it wouldn't last as long because this is also stress on the athletes too.
Yes.
We now are resuming our regular scheduled programming of NHL, which we also want to focus on too, because everyone should be on a plane home as hungover as they're going to be, to begin playing again. I'm sure they're going to do practicing on Tuesday, and a lot of games are starting on Wednesday. So. They're going to go back to that, and we'll see. It'd be interesting to see, in future Olympics if this changes, because they are kind of following the international model, and we'll see how that works out on the international stage. We talk about that a lot too, because international rules are different, and some of them kind of and we love to see things get adopted in that.
Yeah, and sometimes trial and error. Something's not going to work in one season. I mean, you wait 4 years down the road and there's something a little bit different. I do wonder too, though, because there's some injuries coming out of this series that impact NHL teams. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just talking about Sid, because that was a big loss for us. It's a huge loss for Pittsburgh. Yep. And you wonder, for the 2-week break, you pick up your season when you go back and you're missing your captain. And there are other injuries that.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. I've been looking at the NHL championship betting odds. The Avalanche are still plus 350. They're the number 1 pick to win the Stanley Cup this year. We have a lot of teams down at the bottom, including our New York Rangers, unfortunately, and the Chicago Blackhawks and the Calgary Flames. But I guess anything can happen. So this is the time to place your bets. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code XXX. That's code XXX to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org on behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas. Wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026 NHL. All rights reserved.
We've been talking, Liz, about, this whole year has just been kind of wonky. And I think prior to this break, I think we were trying to kind of bring up with other people, like what your thought is. And, a lot of people are out doing surgeries. I don't know if they timed it to do it so that they were healthy for the Olympics. I think in my opinion, this is only my opinion, that a lot of the focus was this individual nature, for each of these guys to make it to the Olympics. They didn't want to get hurt, so that impacted the teams. And I think that it might be one of the reasons why, kind of what you said earlier, our divisions flipped upside down. And, and I think focus, and it's been a constant question we've asked people, is like, do you think the focus is there? Because it's been just a wonky season all year.
It's been an accelerated schedule also. So they've been cramming games in to account for these 3 weeks that they're on break. So, I don't know how the Leafs schedule was, but the Rangers played all kinds of crazy, back-to-back games. They had played 4 more games than everybody else in the division had at one point. So the injuries, I think that started to compound and really add up and started to affect the team.
you're right, because there have been more, and I'm sitting here as I'm watching them. I think are they rougher this year? It's and then we get into the calls and the non-calls, and because I think I mentioned this too in some of my posts, that I'm finding that there are inconsistencies, and I don't want this to come across, because we get accused as Leafs fans of always whining that it's always the refs. It's
well, now you got us too. We agree with you.
okay. I
do. Wild West out there for refereeing.
You can see there's a goaltender interference called in one game, and the goal is allowed. There's that's challenged in another game, and it's not allowed. And they're almost identical situations. And I know that there are going to be. I was going to say it's human error. The initial call is human, but we're going to video replay. And even in these replays, there are inconsistencies. And in terms of hits, because I grew up hearing that if you hit the numbers, you were hitting from behind. But now it's like, well, he maybe came in and did a little shift, or he wasn't close enough to the boards. And I don't want people to say, because I've been told this, if you don't like it, go watch ballet. And it's like, well, no. Just
let me add him, Jane. I got him.
Okay. And it's not even that. And you got to be careful when you bring up fighting. I don't love the fighting. And I've often said that I don't know what other sport there is out there where fighting is the secondary sport in your sport. But there are times where I can get into it. It's like, let them have it. But you know what? I hate you're standing up, they're getting ready to face off, and they're like, you want to go? Yeah, I'll go. You want to go? We're going to drop the glove. That's gratuitous. And that takes away from the game, and then the puck drops and the dramatic throwing the gloves, and then they do that ice dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking Matt Rempe's the whole first year. So right? That's exactly what happened.
Every single fight must have been planned like a week ahead of time. I'm sure. I am getting to the point with the NHL that I'm starting to feel like it's scripted, like wrestling, where some of it is so, I think they're so incentivized to do it, but you know what? It gets people talking.
And it's that, it's becomes the entertainment that I don't want to use the word spectacle, because I don't mean it to that degree, but it does become a sub element.
Yeah, it's kind of an element of the game that that some teams, and the Rangers are very open about this. With Rempe coming in with that first season, he was challenged until he got smacked hard, and out, and then he got penalized, for things. So
right.
Kind of goes to your question of like, what did he bring to the sport? Well, we didn't know. We still.
And I've been told he brings energy. He brings energy to the building.
He does. And my son's a giant child as well, and so my son's 6'7". Rempe's a little taller. You got Adam Edstrom as well. It's hard for these players that are so big to be fast. I mean, part of it, I was kind of stunned. I'm like, how did he even get all the way through, being the size he is? We know there's faster players, but he's obviously has something that kind of brought him through the AHL and brought him up the ranks.
Truly. And you know what I've said before, I would like to see his talent. I would love to see that. And again, I don't see many of the Rangers games. So it's rare. I mean, if they're playing the Leafs, and I don't have the NHL package anymore because their prices went up like by 40%, and I thought I'm sort of done with that. So I catch what I can. When it's we've got CBC Gem up here, or so I can watch it on that. But I posted way back that I've been listening to stuff on like the radio broadcasts now, which has that's a whole other perspective.
It is. It's fun.
So because every single call is like the puck sitting on the goal line, and really they barely cross the blue line. So it depends too on what team you're listening to and the level. There are some that are far more home team than others, which they should be, but sometimes, come on, guys.
Look, Phil Esposito does the commentary for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and if you have not listened to him on the radio, you get some tissues, because you're going to be cry laughing the whole time. He's amazing. He is like 90
All
years old. I know it's like a lot older than what he really is, but you know, they'll make a play. I've sent clips to Liz because I'm in driving the car and I'm listening, and it's just the funniest thing because you know, there'll be a play and you'll hear him say like, "Oh no, that's not good." And I'm like, best thing ever. So I so enjoy that, and I'm a lot of times since we're East Coast or we're West Coast time, we are getting the games earlier. So I tend to be at the gym. So I do listen to it on the radio, and I do love the different, again, we're talking perspective of things. I do love it. That sometimes we're challenged being in LA to watch games. We get blacked out for every Kings game, and which is going to be a problem now that my favorite player is here. I don't know how I'm going to watch these games because they were blacked out. And we got to get creative. And the funny thing is when Liz and I are watching it, I don't think we're ever on the same time frame. One of us
never. Christine's usually ahead of me. Sometimes every now and then I'm ahead of you. I actually have to turn my phone to silent because I know I'm going to get like a bunch of like emojis and I'm going to know what's going to happen. But it's not going to happen for me till another minute later. So
yeah, you want to be a spoiler.
And we're usually watching the same things. I don't even know what's happening, you know, and so we get challenged and more now creative to kind of watch it in different ways. With different packages and you're to the same thing you say. We watch what we can.
Right.
Again, you know, for those listening, the women's games are free on YouTube. Also,
you get them. We don't get them up here.
Oh, that's right.
No, we don't put them on YouTube because they want us to subscribe because they're trying to build the game. So I catch what I can. We can get the replay of the game, but I can't watch the game live, except on Saturdays, like a Saturday game.
Interesting.
They'll play that, and that's again on our CBC, the CBC Jam. So it's the Canadian Broadcast System, the corporation. So
and Victory Plus.
Oh, I know I know you guys are getting to watch all of these games on YouTube, and that's why I don't have a lot of PWHL content because I don't get to see it.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
I think when we were at the draft, we were talking to some people from the PWHL, and as they kind of grow to expand it, I would hopefully expect that to change because you know it's not just. I mean, look, half the teams are in Canada, and they're expanding more into the United States. I think so. Hopefully that'll change. Who do we need to let them know? You know, we're going to put it out there to do that, and then we're hoping too that Victory Plus brings in some more teams too, because that's another one where the Ducks, the Stars, and is it Vancouver? That are on Victory Plus, which does allow us to see those games.
Okay.
For free, and that's good too. They're slowly moving, up, so that things are visible to everybody. To your point.
Yes, and you know what? It's interesting because I don't know. First of all, growing up, did you ever think something like this would happen? That the PWHL would ever happen? That we would see women playing professional hockey? So that was a huge, huge thing to begin with, and I'm not sure they were aware of how popular it would become and how quickly it would become this popular. So I'm hoping you're right in that the game has grown very rapidly. And so I'm hoping that once we're past this, we need to grow the game, that we are exposed to more of it. And even up here, trying to get a ticket, the tickets aren't cheap for the Toronto team. And then again, so it's, and again, I mean, Sarah's in Toronto, so it's just a quick subway ride down. But for me, it's the drive up. Well, I could take the train into town, but it's accessibility,
right,
as well. But it's I mean, and when we talk about the Olympics and the women in the Olympics, and I thought the PWHL brought so much to these Olympic Games. And I think that them being there has raised awareness.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it's reciprocal. I'm hoping that the Olympic Games now bring more attention to the PWHL.
Well, I don't know which player it was, but someone after the gold medal game, I think, said, when we used to do these interviews at the end of the Olympics, we'd say, watch us again in 4 years. And now we don't have to say that anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I love it. I love the quality of hockey. And I did mention that Switzerland-Sweden game the only game I did watch during the Olympics. I
Oh,
honestly
yeah.
didn't want it to end. It was just some of the best hockey I've seen in so long, and I truly felt bad for whatever team was going to lose. You know, and they get close to scoring, and I'd be like, no, and they go back down the ice, and I go, no. But that's what they have to offer, and I just want the whole world to see that.
It's been fun to watch that, and I think one of the reasons why I've kind of loved watching the women more is that they're still up and coming. The men are just 100% professional. You know, between Canada and U.S., you know, we talked about this yesterday. Every single member of the team is an NHL player, as opposed to
Sweden
other.
too, all 25 of their roster.
Yeah, and so even though, you know, a lot of both Canada and U.S. on the women's side were that they still had other players, you know, and then they had to
Yes.
pull in other players. And we watched. I mean, I was proud to watch an old neighbor who I watched grow up, and her, you know, and her sisters would play against my son.
Really?
She's twins. Yeah, her name's Justine Reyes. She played for Italy, and so she was. And she was high. She was the one who scored in one of the games, and then she had a breakaway against the U.S. And so I wasn't even aware until my son told me. And so she lived across the street, you know, growing up. She's 28, playing for Milan, and she plays for. She's playing for Milan in the Olympics. She does play for Italy right now, I believe, outside in the European League. And in talking with my son, she's 28, and as they kind of look to expand, they're going to have to pull in other players, and it'd be really nice to see, you know, how these Olympics have done for them to kind of pull in and then just continue to grow the sport. And that is
so.
The talk that we've been hearing is how much we continue to talk. Look, the women's game on Thursday broke records, and they also put out all the stats for all the sellouts and attendance for the regular PWHL games, which continue to break records.
Yes.
They're outgrowing their stadiums
Yes.
after 2 years, you know, and so we're not, you know, this isn't going away. It's just going to continue to get better.
I love that you say that. This isn't going away.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. I must say I'm so thrilled to see it, but I'm a little bit surprised in a very, very positive way. I'm a little bit surprised, but I'm so pleased because we've done. I mean, the caliber of hockey is high, and you know what else I like is when you do get to see, when you see some of the young girls in the crowd watching and knowing that they have something to aim for now, which was never on the table before.
Yeah. Did you hear some of the players talking about how they had to play? They were like the only girl on their boys team based on where they lived and the way they grew up and stuff. I mean, you know, look, I'm an LA and New York person. I raised my kids in LA. We have so many teams within Southern California, and there were a lot of girls teams too.
Okay.
It was always fun watching the girls. When my son's on, we talk about it because the girls would do exhibition games against the boys as teenagers, and the girls played with skill. They weren't, you know, they weren't playing with ego or anything. They played with skill. And then you got the boys all playing with ego. They're learning to check each other. And then like, you're going to play girls, but you're not allowed to check them. And they're like, God, the boys will be like, what do I do? It's a girl. And then we would be like, okay, I'm going to score. And it was always the best games to ever watch. It's still
It's interesting because I live in a city of about 50,000 people. And we have, I mean, hockey is big in town, but we've got house league, and then you've got the travel teams. You've got, you know, the A and the WA, the AAA and stuff. So my great nephew last year was on the travel team, and but he was on the young end of it. So this past season, he's playing house league because he didn't make the travel team, and it is a mixture of it's girls and boys. And they do have the separate change rooms and stuff, but it's interesting because they don't differentiate. It's that's who your team is, but they've all come through the whole, you know, minor hockey system where that's what you do. And I like that. I mean, at some point, obviously, it separates off, and we're very limited in terms of like full female teams. But as it grows, and again, I do think something like the PWHL, where we've said that it gives hope to, or it brings attention to the game.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, it absolutely is going to grow. Absolutely.
It has to, right? It's so good. And I think sometimes even better than the other hockey.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
especially after watching a season of the New York Rangers. It was so refreshing to watch the women's team. Like it really was incredible because you're watching them and everyone's so fast. I haven't seen people get fast on the ice in 6 months. So
yes, and you know what? I don't want to sound like someone. I really always have been somebody that kind of marched to the beat of my own drum. And I mean, we always conform in some way, but I would have been, okay, now I have to admit that I barely know how to skate, but, but I would have been one of those people that would have gone into that had it been available.
yeah.
And so there's still lingers a bit that stereotype, I think, for some people in maybe my generation, where it's still a guy's sport. And that when we start to shift that attitude, again, the room to grow, the acceptance, just opening doors to excellent hockey.
Yeah, I watched it being around for many, many, many years. That's what I was saying. I watched it grow in all different ways. In diversity, women, you can go to, or in the early days, you can go to a game and you wouldn't see a lot of people of color or even women, to the games. And now that's all changed. Honestly, even Americans weren't playing. And so now we have enough to have a whole team. And yet the American players, I think I was looking it up because I'm a statistician myself. I like looking up numbers. Is that the NHL, like the American born players, really only make up 25% of the entire NHL. So
yes,
so that's interesting too. And
it's also fun, or is it? What I'm loving is that because it used to be like whatever percentage Canadian players, and then it's growing in the US, but it's also growing in some of the other, like Sweden, Finland. I mean, even Czechia, they had I forget the number. I mean, Finland had 24 NHL players on their team. I know they were high. They were pretty high. So I think US, Canada, and Sweden had full rosters. Right. Finland almost was. And I think that a lot of people were underestimating.
Yep. Slovakia only had 7.
Yeah, because you look, Czechia put up a fight. And I love that it's growing worldwide. I love that there's greater diversity in the NHL. Because when I was growing up, I mean, we had the big deal for us was that 72 series against Russia. And that was huge up here. That was huge for us. But those were the powerhouses. And I love that it's not that, because when there's greater competition, it's a more entertaining sport.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we get closer to the close of our episode, I am very curious to know, Jane, what are the hot takes for the rest of the NHL season? Give it to us straight. What do you think? Give us some predictions. Give us some big hockey takes from Jane.
You're like, it will end.
That's so funny. I have high hopes. I hope that the Leafs can pull it together and make it at least to the playoffs
right? Yeah.
There are certain teams that no matter where they sit, I would never, ever count them out. And as much as this, I have to apologize to Florida Panthers fans. I don't want you to be there, but I would never, ever count them out. But there are other surprises. I'm looking at teams. I mean, Tampa Bay is playing well. The Avalanche are playing well. But I always look for that surprise. And you know what? You look at Detroit, you look at some of these teams that haven't been, and suddenly they're creeping up. As much as I'm supposed to hate Montreal, I'm not ruling Montreal out this year. I mean, there's a whole Toronto-Montreal thing. There's actually a book, and it's called The Hockey Sweater. And it's a Rock Carrière.
Yeah,
is that
a Quebecois classic.
Yes, it is a Quebecois classic, and it's just a young lad growing up in Quebec, and they all go down to the rink wearing their habitant jerseys. And the Moths came in, one boy outgrew his, and his mother had to order. We used to have the store Eaton's, and they had the catalog, and his mother ordered him a new sweater, but they sent the jersey of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and his mother made him wear it to the rink. And it was all this song about the priest kicked him off the ring, and he went home and he prayed for 1,000 moths to come and eat his Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. So you can see there's like this massive rivalry. So it's a big deal for me to say, I'm looking at Montreal.
I think it's almost like anybody's game. I think we need to get through the next 2 weeks, right? Because
I think you're right.
Trades are happening. They're flying everywhere. We're knowing that the Rangers are going to be dumping some of our players probably by tomorrow, and before they even land. And and I know the Kings are now looking to do a run with their newly acquired Panarin, and I think they're going to look, because they really want to give Kopitar a good run as he retires.
Okay.
And so it'll be interesting. We did see a couple injuries, and no matter what happens, I love this stage of the season because it's just a few weeks left. Everyone is going to go for it. Things are still so tight, I think, on the East Coast that it truly is anybody's game.
Yes, I agree.
So, yeah, it'll be fun.
And the West is not a given. I mean, even though and Avalanche were just running away for that, and there are others that again, and I would never count the Kings out too, though.
Yeah,
the Kings do a run from the bottom to the top. It's been done before. So,
but I do have to say that in the West, I am 100% Oilers. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Hey, like usually it's just one or two teams that I'd rather not see win. Panthers, give everybody else a chance. Okay. And and everybody knows I'm not a Caps fan, so no surprises.
Okay.
But I'm good with everybody else, and stuff. I do want to I know we're going to kind of try to wind it up, but I do have one really quick question for Sarah. Like your mom's great, Sarah. What have you learned from her doing this? I can't let you just go being quiet most of this time.
I don't think I have learned anything new from this process because it's what I have seen in her all this time. I'm just happy to share it. And, it's one thing when your family bigs you up, but when, the internet starts to notice you and you develop fans, I think it's a way to for mom to finally understand that it wasn't just me who saw that. It's actually that she's really great.
Which I appreciate because I really don't, there's a imposter syndrome. I think it's probably a thing, but
and it still happens, I will say. Any time a reel blows up more than usual, she'll be like, "Why?" Because you're great.
But they do seem to be the most innocuous things. I always think I would never call it a throwaway post, but some of them are just so.
Well, that one where you're just like, I love arena fries. And
Okay,
the smell of a ring.
You walk it, really? Yeah. What, is there a better smell? It's
No.
that sweaty equipment
about
in Zamboni, and I did forget to put in the arena fries, but that's a thing.
Okay, that was just in my cart.
Okay, no, I should have, right? Okay.
The other
There is
thing
something
that's been
about those
really
kind of things.
pleasantly surprising for me, and I'm really glad about it. But I grew up as an internet writer. I wrote about music in my 20s, and then I wrote about MMA after. So a female byline writing about men's stuff. I'm used to a certain level of, let's just say, bile in the comments on the internet. So, that is one of the reasons that I'm in charge of it, was to keep her away from those comments. But I really haven't had to. And it's oh, people can be nice on the internet. I'm so glad that mom gets this.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. And even I've noticed that the hockey grandchildren, as they've branded themselves, and we've been very happy to take on, are taking care of each other now.
Yeah,
there was a couple of comments where people got snippy the other day, and someone just came in hey guys, we don't do that on Jane's page. And I was like, oh, I'm so proud of all of you. It's incredible. Yeah. So I'm just really, really happy that mom is not only putting this into the world, but she's being met with those same vibes back.
It's great because again, that take resonates, and that's kind of what's happening is what your thought and what you're putting out, when it resonates with one person, when you go and you have a good fry, I've been to St. Louis and I think their fries are the best, and so when it resonates with somebody like that, it's such a good feeling, to do, and then when it
the same thing as when it's clicking, with other people. And that's really kind of what makes it fun and kind of builds this family of, of fans and friends, along the way, so, from California to Toronto and where you guys are at now, like, this is what it's all about. So definitely this was an amazing, meet and chat, with you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That it was fun. And again, as Sarah said, I was so nervous when she brought it up. I was like, well, why? But you've made it so comfortable. It's truly just a chat, and I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening to this very special episode of Double D-Fense. If you want to follow Big Hockey with Jane, Jane is on Instagram. It's bighockey_with_Jane. So give her a follow over there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.